nerves. Better shake your booties for black girl nerves.
Oh, Courtney, I'm always so excited to talk to you because I learned so many new things whenever I speak to you. Thank you for your time.
Oh, I'm happy to be here.
As we head into season 2 now of Power Book 2 Ghost, I wonder what your point of view is of the Power universe. When you think of this grand universe that you've helped carve out with all these talented people, is it like a magnifying glass zooming in, or is it more of a thing zooming out? What is your point of view when you think of the universe?
Well, right now, on my way to Netflix, and moving on to new things, I think of it sort of fondly as, I think it's the zooming out version. I think it's watching it expand and get bigger and being able to touch more people. I think that's kind of how I look at it. I don't think of it. I just think of it as a beautiful, wonderful extension of what we were able to do from the beginning.
Absolutely. Before we talked tonight, I went back and I love how you do the series breakdowns. And I watched the last one after the season finale, and you said season 2 will have more complications, chess matches, and of course, murder. All our characters have complicated paths. Is there anyone who doesn't have a complicated path at this point? They all are navigating a lot of things while interweaving their lives with each other.
Well, I think that human beings are complicated usually, right? In real life, everyone is complicated. So I think that that's why how we try to create verisimilitude really is to have people be complicated and interesting in and of themselves. No, I think all of our characters are pretty straightforward. The one thing I'll say is that I think in a lot of ways, Monet has the least complicated sort of desire, which is hers is very clearly self-preservation. I think that's kind of clean. In a way, Zeke's is kind of clean too. He just wants to play basketball and make everybody happy. There are some people who are a little simpler, but yeah, everybody's in a complicated space. That's how we make drama.
And drama it makes for, I love this pairing now of Davis and Cooper Saxe and how this relationship is going to evolve. How can two people who are clearly untrustworthy find a middle ground and work with each other?
Oh, I'm not sure we want them to find a middle ground. No. We want two people who are untrustworthy working together, kind of stabbing each other in the back. But here's the thing. What I do think is important is that Saxe at the end of season 1 is on the precipice of falling right out of the legal profession. He's really just made a mess of his career. And here comes Davis with this opportunity to be rich and to make a lot of money and to find himself a path towards still being an attorney. And so Saxe kind of buys into something that is dangerous for him. It's further dangerous for him. And Davis has his own purposes for hiring Saxe, as we see as we go through the season. So they're using each other, which I think is the most beautiful way to get people to stay together.
Mm-hmm. And lastly, I thought of a line in the finale too, when Tasha telling Tariq at one point, "You made me this way," when he wants to go out on his own. And then in the other episode, Kane says the same thing to Monet, but there's clearly not the same type of sentimentality, I guess you could say about that. What do you think that the biggest differences are between Tasha and Monet, and how are they most similar?
Oh, that's another great question. Tasha works out of love and Monet works out of fear. Monet is a person who moves out of fear. It doesn't look like that because it presents as strength, but when you're writing her as a character, she's always thinking of what could go wrong. Tasha comes more from a place of what could go right. In other words, she's always trying to solve the problem and Monet's always trying to outthink the problem. So it's a little bit different. Also, another fundamental difference is that Tasha wanted to sacrifice herself for Tariq. I'm not entirely certain that Monet would sacrifice herself for one of her children. She would try to get to a place where that wasn't necessary.
Monet already told us she had off him herself. So we have to take her at her word. Well, I thank you, Courtney, so much for this time with you. I'm so excited to see the rest of the episodes, and I know the chatter on Twitter is getting ready to go, so I'm ready.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.
Good morning, sir. I thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Come through, show this. I see it.
I was feeling blousy. I was feeling blousy today.
Very nice, sis. Very nice.
Thank you. I was thinking about your character, and I thought of a joke where they say the tiger didn't act up, the tiger went tiger. And with him, he is a criminal defense lawyer, and he's going to do everything he can to get the win. Can we put him in the box of bad, good? Where does he lie on the scale of good and bad, you'd say?
He's polarizing at best. You don't know if he's bad or good. You don't know if you like him or if you hate him. And I wouldn't have it any other way. Davis McClain is morally challenged, for lack of a better phrase. But that's his job. And the thing that confused people was, if Tariq is paying him, why is he trying to get Tariq locked up? Well, because Davis McClain was representing his mom, not Tariq. Yes, Tariq was paying, but he wasn't the client, his mom was. And if you ask me, I did a hell of a job getting his mom out of jail, even though it almost cost her son. I mean, this is law. It is what it is. So you're right. Yes,
he is there for the job.
He is there for the job. He wants power. It has nothing to do with the check.
Can a morally challenged person have a blind spot? Because when you are morally challenged, you have your head on a swivel and you're looking at all things to take advantage of the opportunity. So is it possible for him to even have a blind spot where someone can get him and knock him off his square?
I don't think so. I think he can be fooled once because Tariq did it. Tariq beat him at his own game. That's how he became his mother's lawyer. But I don't think it can happen twice with the same person. So yeah, he may slip once, but never twice. And if you do fool Davis, beware, because he's coming back and he's going to come back with a vengeance, pretty much. Almost lock Tariq's ass up. And I mean, honestly, if we're talking about morals here, you have a lawyer that doesn't need the truth to win, you know, but he does need the truth from his clients. And his client, as well as the benefactor of his client, lied to him. He had no idea what he was getting into. And you can't have that when you go into a court system. You have to be prepared.
Mm-hmm. Now this season, we're going to see that he and Cooper Saxe are kind of playing on the same side of the field. How can they make this work? Because we know how Saxe gets down. We've seen his whole trajectory. How can they best work together?
Well, I mean, you have a Batman and Batman situation. They're both great at what they do, so they're going to bump heads. But I think Davis hired Saxe for a reason. And I mean, the main reason, he's a former U.S. attorney. You know, he knows how the federal system works. So if there's ever a moment where I have to deal with a federal case, I got the inside guy right here. Their ways, their actions, their reactions, everything right there in front of me. So I can always plan ahead and be prepared for anything that comes my way. But Saxe is also being utilized as another piece in something that I'm not at liberty to give away at this moment, but I think it'll play out pretty well during the season.
For sure. When you look at Davis and his approach to getting what he wants, and you look at your own journey through your career and success, is there any qualities in Davis that you admire that you think you would have helped you in some kind of way during your travels in your career?
His ambition, you know, his winning attitude. I could have really used that. You know, I've always felt I was humble, so much so to a fault. But Davis, what I can take from Davis is not just the confidence, but the fact that knowing before you, or assessing a situation before you fully go into it, so you can have the odds in your favor more, that kind of thing.
For sure. Well, you got the odds in your favor. I think you've done pretty good in your career. I think you've done pretty good.
Appreciate that.
Well, I thank you for your time. I'm excited to see Davis's journey this season. Thank you so much for your time, Meth. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you, Mary, for your time. I appreciate you. And I love any chance I can talk about Monet, because Monet is definitely my favorite character in the show. When I think of Monet and her being her own woman, when you think of her, and you look at the trajectory of your own career and growth and navigating through a male dominated industry like Monet, what do you admire most about her ability to navigate? And what do you think the two of you have in common?
Her ability to think under pressure, real quick. Her ability to not let men intimidate her. And just how she wants more and how she's going to protect herself by any means necessary. Like, she's not going to let anybody get in her way of her living the way she wants to live. And so what's similar to me is just, what's similar to me with Monet is all those things. She's a survivor, first of all, and Mary's a survivor. And in order to survive, you have to really not let anybody get in your way.
Mm-hmm. When nothing about Monet suggests vulnerability, but we all have vulnerabilities to a certain extent. We know she loves her children. We know she's going to fight for her business, but are there spaces for her to be vulnerable in her current life situation this season?
Yes, she's very vulnerable right now because she doesn't want her children to end up dead or in jail. And there's a new guy from her past that showed up that she's like, oh boy, okay, I actually really liked you. So now what? So she's showing some soft sides, but not for long. They're like that long. And yeah, she's showing a more human side in the season.
One thing I know, and I think everybody knows, that Mary J. Blige's fashion is going to be on point, whether you got to run out to Target or you go into an award show. And the same thing for Monet, always on point, always tight. If a couple of her pieces, you probably already got them, if a couple of pieces of Monet's wardrobe could make it into Mary's wardrobe, do you have some favorite pieces from the past season that we've seen that you were like, maybe I do need to add that to the catalog, to the rotation?
I absolutely do have some favorite pieces that they only gave me like maybe 3 pieces, but I'm grateful for that. But it's so much stuff that Monet wears that I'm like, oh my God, I wish I had that. I need that coat. Really, a lot of the coats.
I went back and watched the finale, and I watched when you had to deliver the money in the big Louis bag. I wonder if people are going to give you props, because I've seen that bag pop up recently, but that bag is bad. Did that bag make it into the collection?
No, it didn't have to. I had 3 of those bags already. I had in different colors. So that was like the one I was like, I'm cool on that one. I have all of the colors.
And lastly, so Monet we've got a new guy who's going to pop in. We have the children who are making their way up in the enterprise, getting a little bit more trust. Can she trust her children completely? Because some have demonstrated that they're not as trustworthy as others in the family.
Right. I don't think she can trust anyone in this game. She loves her children, but she doesn't trust anybody, I don't think. She definitely doesn't trust her children, anybody. Yeah.
Well, that's okay, because Monet is going to handle her business. And
she is.
Well, I thank you, Mary. It's always a pleasure. I'm such an admirer of yours, and I love watching your acting career continuous trajectory too. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care. Hello. I was feeling, Meth said that too. He's like, wow, you got a lot of shoulders. I'm like, I was feeling festive for you guys. I thank you for your time. I'm most impressed by your group of characters, because I look at how young people are so entrepreneurial these days in all senses of the word. And the 3 of your characters are no exception. Alix, beginning with you for Effie, of the 3 of you, she seems the most ambitious, in a sense, the most unwavering, the most focused on a real, tangible, solid goal. Is that a fair assessment of her? Because we know where she's starting and where she's going. And how does that continue?
Yeah, I would say so. I think she has a lot riding on this. When we first seen her in season 6 of the original Power with Tariq, he made the comments about how she has, busted up shoes, her phone is cracked, she has nothing pretty much. So a lot rides on her creating a whole brand new lifestyle for herself.
Gianni, for you, your family is of means, your character's family is of means, but in spite of that, this feels more real. This feels more like the path that he wants to take. Why is this a better path in his mind instead of going into his real family business?
I mean, I think he said it in that episode where he went on the streets with Kane, episode 6 of season 1. He said that I made this money by myself. It wasn't for my family. It wasn't for my connections. So I think he just really wants to carve a path for himself that he did himself and not anyone else, not anyone. Nobody gave him anything. So I think he just wants to be his own man, and he wants to, carve his own path. His parents can give him whatever he wants, but that's not what he wants.
Michael, for you, for Tariq, the maturation of Tariq has been really something to see from the last show, from this show now in season 2. How does that continue to elevate it? As you get older, you get more mature in a sense, but now he knows a lot more things than he did before. So how is he going to continue to evolve in season 2? What are some new lessons he's going to learn?
I feel like Tariq, he just forms to any situations he's in. He always finds a way to control what he's going to do. And this season, you'll kind of see him struggle with that. You'll kind of see him struggle with, trying to deal with certain things in his life. And honestly, I don't know, man. He's in a tough position this whole season, really. The whole entire season, he's going through turmoil, and it's kind of dope to see him kind of struggle with everything, because he's kind of diligent through almost everything in his path. But this season, you kind of see him struggling and have some difficulties with getting through certain obstacles in his life.
Alix, as we learn more about Effie and we get to see her more on screen, how are you adapting this? Because this is a monster show, a monster universe that a lot of people love. How has been embracing Effie and this role been for you now as you enter your second season?
Yeah, I have so much fun with it. I have the greatest castmates in the entire world. And of course, the fans are so diehard, and that's so much fun to watch and so much fun to be able to participate in that. I've been literally living the dream, literally.
Gianni, back to you about carving your own path. People like to make the comparisons like, oh, is this the new Tommy? Like, are making those inevitable comparisons. What do you think, for those who keep saying that, what is the difference between Brayden and Tommy as you can see it so far?
Yeah, I mean, it's inevitable to make that connection, obviously, because of their loyalty and because of their love for the game. But they differ because, they grew up differently. Tommy grew up with ghosts on the streets, and, kind of like Tariq, Brayden grew up a little more privileged and had, more resources and money. And obviously we went to boarding school. So no one who grew up, in the streets like that is really getting a $45,000 a year education, So obviously we differ in that sense. But I just think people draw that comparison because Tommy was ride or die for Ghost, and Brayden's ride or die for Tariq. So that's why people like to make that comparison.
Yeah, they
Sure.
that Brayden has to to be in the game. Like he has so much fun. He had mad fun being.
Yeah, like I think it was episode 1 or 2 of Power where Tommy says he's like, I love this shit when Ghost wanted to get out, or even that early on when he had the club. So yeah, it's just, I think Brayden has said very similar things to that.
Well, I love it. Keep carving out the universe, because we are definitely going to watch for sure. Thank you guys for your time. I appreciate it, and have a great season 2.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Take care.
Have a good day.
Thank you, gentlemen, for your time. I appreciate it.
Hey, Gianni.
When I think of Cooper Saxe and Rashad Tate, both handsome men, but they both drive me crazy. That's probably my favorite thing about both of the characters. Larenz, beginning with you, we've seen Rashad do a lot of things to advance his career ambitions, but he can never quite get it over the goal line. Is there ever going to be a space where he can learn enough just to get his real ambitions over the goal line? Because he keeps falling short.
Yeah, there's a lot of hurdles. There's a lot of roadblocks for Rashad. And that just makes great storytelling, because we go along the ride and the adventure of how he's able to deal with that and handle it, how he interprets failure, and the fact that in his mind he's so motivated and determined that failure is just not an option for him, right? And so we will get a chance to see him sort of result back to some of his old antics, but he has to find new ways to approach things. Everything he can't go about it the way that he went about things in the past. So it's been interesting just to see how the story rolls itself out. I can't give away too much, but there's a lot of twists and turns, and there's certainly going to be some consequences.
Mm-hmm. Shane, and for Cooper Saxe, when we, at the end of the last season, he and Davis were talking about possibly working together. We're going to see what happens with that in season 2, maybe a whole new Cooper Saxe for us to know. Does he have blind spots? I mean, he makes some ill-advised choices, but he always is in the mix of all the things, and he has some intention, but again, falls a little short of getting what he wants over the goal line. What do you think are his biggest blind spots?
Are you trying to suggest that Cooper Saxe is a loser?
I just think he can be a little short-sighted from time to time.
Okay. So here's the thing. Cooper, he's like a dog with a bone. You know what I mean? Like this St. Patrick's thing was going to be the thing that put Cooper on the map. And every time I'm within an inch of striking and it's right there and I can taste it, it's pulled out from underneath me. And that continues into Ghost. And at the end of season 1, you find him kind of at a very low point. He's, at the bottom of a glass, and he's clearing out the office because once again, he's kind of had his ass handed to him. And I'm faced with, do I go back home, which is basically admitting defeat and going and living with my family, working with my family, which would be the bane of my existence. And then Davis shows up with this kind of deal with the devil sort of lifeline that he throws at me that is another path to take. And so for me, it's a matter of like, I have to win. And I can't, like Larenz was saying, I can't admit defeat. I have to keep after it by any means.
As you guys both say that, it makes me think of the Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote and how they were always in pursuit and it never quite happened. So Larenz, for Rashad, what do you think is the carrot for him this season? What would be the thing for him to win?
The thing for him is really finding his in his mind his rightful place. He truly believes that he should be in public office. He really believes that he should have a platform to move and make change. He really believes that he has the voice to galvanize and move people forward and to do things that other politicians may or may not have been able to do in the past. And so when he's faced with this failure and he's faced with defeat, it's kind of nice to see his brother Kamal, who's played by my real brother Lamar Tate, to come in there and say, hey man, pick up the pieces, get back to your journey. And so the real carrot is just finding the win, getting the win, and to prove to himself that he's not a loser.
All right. Well, they are wrapping me, guys, but thank you for your time. Shane, I like your new swag. That's coming this season too. Very, very different look for him, but it's worth it. Thank you guys for your time. I appreciate it.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
Take care. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time. I appreciate it.
Good morning.
I was thinking about the grouping of you guys together, and I thought that all of your respective characters seem a little adrift from their respective families. Beginning with you, Woody, with Kane, we saw over season 1 that he was doing things to try to get back into the good graces, but doing other things that remove him from the graces of the family, is in what he really wants ultimately, and how is he in pursuit of that in a general sense in season 2?
Yeah, Kane he's all about family. You know what I mean? It was a beautiful moment between Kane and Monet at the hospital scene, where Kane is saying to his mom, "You made me this way." You know what I mean? But he's not really. He wasn't even. I'm talking in the third person. Kane wasn't really saying "you made me this way." He was really saying, "Why don't you love me?" You know what I mean? So like, it's for Kane. He just wants his love. He just wants to be with his family, and he's just trying to make things right. But he's just not thinking. He's just acting. So right now, I think going into season 2, I'm so excited to see if he starts to think more and start, like, instead of just acting. Yeah, I don't know if I answered it, but yeah.
You did. I think Tariq had a moment like that with Tasha in a previous season 2, when he said she made him this way. These mothers
Exactly.
are doing it. Daniel, for Mecca is a dangerous person. We've been warned that he is dangerous. What is the most danger takes many forms, in terms of snitching, in terms of law enforcement. I mean, there's lots of different dangers. What is his specific kind of danger? Because all these people are dangerous.
Yeah, there's a lot of danger, a lot of dangerous people. I would say it is the fact that he will deploy whatever method or means most suits his ends. It's not always physical violence. Sometimes it's psychological manipulation, or sometimes it's lies. And so I think his brand of danger is versatile. It's not just one thing, but he kind of switches his monster on and off depending on his agenda.
I hear that. For you, Berto, Lorenzo is still in prison, but he still has a tremendous hold on the enterprise and what's happening. But there seems to be a few cracks happening in the hold there. When you look at Lorenzo and the children of the Tejada family, which child do you think he has the most common with? And is that hold starting to lessen on the enterprise?
I think for Lorenzo, the hold that he has, his relationship with his kids is unique and individual in every way. Like, there's no real comparison. You couldn't say most. It's completely different with each one, but there's not one most of anything, right? I mean, Diana has his heart, and that's the female of the family, and she's also the youngest. Dru is a completely different personality from Kane, but he holds those two kids as tight the same way. You know, he holds them as tightly as possible the same way. But they're different people. So there's different ways that he attaches to each one of them differently and completely, you know? So it's a very cool thing, unique thing about this character, that he has these very defined ideas and interactions with so many different people. His family, really, with the four, and his wife. So the 4 members of his family, you know.
All right. Well, this is a very busy family, so we're going to see how the busy continues in season 2. Thank you guys for your time. I appreciate it, and looking forward to seeing the whole season. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Take care. Thank you guys for talking to me this morning. I'm very, very excited to see all of you and what happens this season. The family. This is the next generation of the Tejada family and what's going to happen to the enterprise. LaToya, beginning with you, every episode in season 1, we saw you step up and elevate and step up and step up. What does season 2 represents for Diana's journey in this? Is it a taking more of the what is the journey like for her this season?
I feel like when we first meet Diana, you'll see her stepping up as far as like with the family, because, you know, Kane is kind of ghosted right now, and then Dru was shot. So she has to like step up and be a part of the family business, even though she didn't really want to be initially. But as the season progresses, you'll see, even in the beginning of the season, like episode 1, you could tell that Diana's wheels are turning. She is very, very methodical. And I feel like if she was misunderstood in the first season, you will now know why she is the way she is. She's very smart, and everything she does is for a reason, and she's strategic about it. So you'll see that play out for sure.
The growth of all of you from when we first met you is crazy, and just watching to where you go. The same thing for you, Lovell. It's like your character was an unwilling participant and just wanted to have a regular life, but he was born into this extraordinary family that might have other ideas for his ambitions. Is there a possibility of him living a regular life when you have a family that's running a huge criminal enterprise?
I think it's always possible. You know, I think you do have these stories of people who do find a way to thrive and get out and not pursue their family business in many ways, shapes, and forms. I think for Dru, his heart and his artist's mind, his empathy, his creativity, it's I feel like it's a part of you so strongly that even when you say, you know what, I'm going to be methodical and I'm going to use my mind and I'm going to just be very logical, that artist, you know, that it creeps up to the surface, you know, and you can't stifle it. And I think, you know, for Dru, I think even though he's going to have to make some decisions about, you know, his priorities and where those lie, his heart will never die in that sense. And that artist will always be there and always be, you know, wanting to be expressed.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you know, he might start painting with some blood because you have to step up in the family business. You never know where that artistic talent might come in handy.
Almost has to be in Dexter now, you know.
And Daniel, for Zeke is I'm worried about him the most. He's probably the least involved in the criminal aspect of the family, but he's carrying the weight of the legitimacy, I guess you could say, of the family as they try to push him into this professional basketball career, or for him playing basketball. What is the weight of the family wanting that legitimacy sort of how does that take its toll on Zeke?
Well, it ties in one of the main themes, which is sacrifice, and having to deal with the reality that, you know, he can no longer just sort of blissfully naive, that there's going to be some decisions to make, and that's going to be a huge thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, we saw he was entangled with Professor Carrie. What do you think that does for his maturity? You know, he's involved with this older woman, but it's still kind of mother girlfriend, mother kick it.
Yeah. It's kind of, it's very deep to me. It's like, you know, I mean, but I think all entanglements are kind of deep where, you know, you are sort of maybe holding on to something that is not exactly good for you and maybe sort of, you know, counterproductive to what you're trying to achieve. And I think that definitely his relationship with Carrie is that's being revealed. That's what's happening.
Well, we're gonna see what's happening with all of you. My goodness, Mary, gotta watch these kids. Well, I thank you guys for your time and your talents. This is a great show, and I'm looking forward to all of season 2. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies, for your time.
Thank you. How are you?
Very good. Thank you. I love the grouping of the three of you because you're all kind of like subtle pot stirrers. You know, I think it goes beneath, you know, it's a little below the surface that it's happening. No one's noticing until it's going to turn into a big thing. And Power has taught us that that's going to happen eventually. Melanie, beginning with you, for Carrie, I wonder if she has her addiction, but has it kind of damaged her fear factor? We've seen Monet confront her in season 1 and told her to back up, but she's still going. So does she have a fear reflex? Should she have a fear reflex in season 2?
She should. She absolutely should, because now, as we know in Power Universe, there's always a payoff. Carrie, I think you know, Carrie found from some sticky situations in season 2. Wow, she's spiraling, kind of, we see her clasping, getting us into some really dangerous, even more situations. But it's great.
I think all of you have the really the potential to bring the whole thing down. And I think that's lost on all of your characters. Same with you, Paige, for Lauren. You know, she has this sweetness that's making her reach out to Tariq, and he's engaged, but he stops short. But love and will complicate things and make you do different things. Is that sweetness something she can maintain, or can it be compromised at some point?
I think that she is sweet. I think that there's like a little misunderstanding with her, that there's something underneath it, but it's not. She really does have pure intentions for everything that she does. I think her and Tariq just come from two separate worlds, which is why they crash and collide the way that they do. I do think it can be compromised because, you know, you can only be nice for so long. So at some point, if she's pushed, I'm pretty sure it'll come out of her. So, but, you know, I just think that there's no hidden agendas. I will say that for Lauren.
For sure. Peyton, I am rooting for you to bring Cooper Saxe down. And we know that some of the best tea has been spilled during pillow talk. So is there a potential to bring Cooper Saxe down, ma'am? Please help the audience out.
You know, what can I say? Yeah, you know, Jenny does not trust Cooper Saxe. Jenny is utilizing that relationship in the way that she wants and needs to at the time. And what's really great about it is they're actually kind of similar people. They're incredibly different, but what they have in common are they're both really obsessed with their jobs. And I mean, Jenny's very good at her job. The fans are going to think differently, or maybe think differently of Saxe and his job. I don't know. I won't speak to that. But yeah, I mean, it gets complicated. They're in hot water, and again, like, the more trouble an actor gets to get into as their character, the more fun it is to play. So we'll just have to see how that shakes out.
For sure. I love all of you in each of your individual characters, but beginning with you, Melanie, if you could swap with anybody in the cast, male or female, who would you want to swap with?
Oh, Monet.
Paige, how about you?
I'm 100% going to be Kane. I'm sorry, Kane. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No.
Kane's great.
What a
How about you, Peyton? How about you, Peyton? Kane also for you?
Yeah, Kane was what popped into my head immediately, because it's so complicated, that relationship with his mother and the back and forth with Monet, and you know where his allegiances lie. Is really fascinating to watch, and it would be so fun to play as an actor for sure.
Absolutely.
Well, I thank you, ladies. I'm so excited. I want each of you to take somebody down. I want to see the ladies really run the power universe in all of its incarnations, and all of you are wonderful additions to it. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Take care.
Better shake your booties for black girl nerds. Better shake your booties for black girl nerds.